This vegan made videos about cognitive dissonance. Let's start from the first one.
Here's just a website, simplypsychology.org. I'm not too familiar with them, but they have a pretty simple little, easy to understand definition of cognitive dissonance. They say, cognitive dissonance refers to a situation involving conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors. This produces a feeling of discomfort, leading to an alteration in one of the attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors to reduce the discomfort and restore balance. So it's basically a coping mechanism that happens where you are trying to alleviate some of the discomfort you might have when you have conflicting values, and you realize that when you receive some new information and it makes that obvious to you. So they give an example here of cognitive dissonance for smoking. They say when people smoke, which is a behavior, they know that smoking causes cancer, which is the cognition, and they're in a state of cognitive dissonance because they know something is bad for them, but they keep doing it anyway. And then they talk about kind of the guy who came up with this term, and then they give some examples about how people deal with the dissonance. So here's the three ways that they say the dissonance can be reduced. So they say first is you can change one or more of the attitudes, beliefs, behaviors to make the relationship between the two elements a consonant one. So they say when one of the dissonant elements is a behavior, the individual can change or eliminate the behavior. So basically you could give up smoking, for example. However, this mode of dissonance reduction frequently presents problems for people as it is difficult for people to change well-learned behavioral responses. Example, giving up smoking. And I would add giving up eating animal products. The next method that they say for reducing this uncomfortable dissonance is you acquire new information that outweighs the dissonant beliefs. So they say, for example, thinking that smoking causes lung cancer will cause dissonance if the person continues to smoke. But if they get new information, such as, research has not proved definitely that smoking causes lung cancer, that may reduce the dissonance. So they say, it's not 100% clear yet that eating red meat is going to cause, colon cancer. It's just a likely thing. So it's like, well, they're still arguing about it. I'll keep eating bacon and beef and everything else. It's the same kind of thing. Then here, the third way is they reduce the importance of the cognitions. So basically the beliefs and the attitudes. They say a person could convince themselves that it is better to live for today than it is to save for tomorrow. In other words, he could tell himself that a short life lived with smoking and bacon and sensual pleasures is better than a long life devoid of such joys. So it's like, you keep eating your salads, vegans, and your carrots, and I'll keep eating my bacon. In this way, the person would be decreasing the importance of dissonant cognition, i.e. smoking is bad for your health, or eating bacon is bad for your health, or whatever.
I have no issues with this. He was reading an explanation. It's something which can be found on internet very easily. But let's jump a few years forward to his second video where he's talking about it.
Mrs. Seo and I were shopping in kind of like a big, it's like a big box store. It's Auchan. I think it's a French company, but it's basically like, for the people in the US, it's like a Target or a Walmart or something like that. A little bit of everything in there. So we went into the garden section, and we needed to get a few things, and we walked past where they have the dog food. And I'll put up a picture on the screen. I see this, big wild boar. It's like a stuffed wild boar out on a display in the dog food section. And I apologize, the picture's a little bit grainy, so you probably won't be able to read it, and it's in Hungarian anyway, so it's not going to help most of the viewers. But they basically tell the story about this particular wild boar. They even have a name for him. His name was Bela. And they talk about how he was raised for a long time on a farm after he was taken in, basically, to spare or save his life. I don't know the exact backstory, but that's what the sign says. And then he lived a long life there on the farm in Hungary. And when he died of old age, they stuffed him and they put him on display. And I kid you not, the product that they're using his body to sell are basically treats and dog food. And the treats are in underneath and around kind of where his body is. And one of the products that they're selling is pig snouts that you would give to your dog as a treat. And I just thought, like, man, this is just shocking to me that, like, somewhere someone isn't making these connections. There is a form of cognitive dissonance that is there for, I think, for most non-vegans would probably not think that, okay, we're killing these pigs and chopping up their parts and feeding them to our dogs and our loving, our pets that we love at home, our loving family members, as a lot of people refer to their dogs. And to not see that connection between the pig and the dog, that they're really not that different. And in fact, many scientific studies have shown that pigs are actually more intelligent than dogs. So it's not even a question of intelligence. Pigs are actually quite social. They have a lot of, kind of like interesting, habits and intelligence and everything that's been studied and proven and shown. And it's actually quite interesting. But to miss that connection between, like, the dog and the pig, I think is kind of, somewhat, especially in a non-vegan person, I think that's somewhat excusable. So I'm not even sure that I would say that that's cognitive dissonance. In some way, I think it is, though, but it's not. It's a less obvious one. But to miss the connection and basically just to see that, the connection between the wild boar and the pig itself, that one of them you think is cute, you give it a name, you let it live out its life and die of old age. Now, again, bringing it to the taxidermy and putting it up as a statue, that's kind of weird. Like, you wouldn't do that with grandma or grandpa when they pass away. But that aside, it's obvious that they somewhat, cared for this particular wild boar. But to not see that wild boar and the farmed pig are almost one and the same, they have very minimal, cosmetic, basically, like, visual differences. To not see that is such an extreme case of cognitive dissonance. Like, I don't know if I've ever come across this. To like somewhere somebody in this company thought, like, this is a good way to market our dog food of pig snouts to people who love their dogs by showing a pig that we thought was cute and loved, and we named him and we put up a little sign commemorating him. Like, I mean, it's just, mind blown. Like, I mean, I'm just completely flabbergasted. Like, I just don't know what to say. So
none of that is cognitive dissonance. He didn't observe people having discomfort, aka dissonance, aka coping mechanism. He just assumed things about people he doesn't know. Then, he says missing the connection between two things is cognitive dissonance. But that doesn't make any sense. You need awareness of the conflicted values, beliefs, and actions for cognitive dissonance to happen. If you are missing the connection, then you are missing that necessary realization of the conflicted things. So no, that's not cognitive dissonance. Secondly, according to him, there are less obvious and extreme cases of cognitive dissonance. But there are no such things. If something is cognitive dissonance, then it's cognitive dissonance. He made it up out of ignorance. Let's go back to the first video. He continued by giving an example of supposed cognitive dissonance of some non-vegans. And at the end, he said this.
It's very interesting, and I thought it was a good example of cognitive dissonance, and just I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I think that's it for today's video. I'm curious if you have any examples where you've seen cognitive dissonance similar to this, where somebody.
He asked other vegans if they have examples of cognitive dissonance of non-vegans. As someone else noted in the comments, it's one-sided and it implies that vegans are immune to cognitive dissonance. On which he replied that he thinks vegans can easily sniff out the supposed cognitive dissonance of non-vegans. If we are to entertain that silly idea, would that mean non-vegans can easily sniff out vegan cognitive dissonance? Would that mean that vegans can't easily sniff out cognitive dissonance of other vegans? That would be ridiculous. At the end, accusing others of cognitive dissonance is not an argument for veganism. We all suffer from cognitive dissonance, both vegans and non-vegans. So it's just being petty.